The experiences in which an individual has during their lifetime can have a significant impact on their identity. The differences between what people experience can relate significantly to gender, religion, age, and even their cultural heritage. This also links well in with equality versus equity. The term equity basically refers to the fairness of something, as opposed to equality, which means something is equal. Equity is a major factor in gaining an identity. One's identity is shaped through their experiences throughout schooling. I interviewed my great Nana, whom I call Nana Dutchie. So Nana Dutchie was born in Holland and is aged 97 years. In relation to my own schooling experiences, as well as my prior assumptions, it genuinely surprised me to discover that she really appreciated her schooling experience in regards to how it has shaped her life today. In regards to the Equality Act 2010, equality is defined as ensuring people are not disadvantaged, discriminated against, or excluded from full participation. To support this equality, it is often that people do not get the same treatment, however they do get fair treatment, which is where the term equity stems from. The Equality Act 2010 identifies 9 protected characteristics in which people are discriminated against. Through the interview that I conducted and my own personal experiences, I can now understand those much more clearer. Gender was highlighted as one protected characteristic. I had minimal knowledge on this and could understand that females and males are seen differently through their expected career choices, hobbies, and interests. While I was able to understand these common differences between the stereotypical view of each gender, through my interview with my Nana, I gained a broader awareness on how much this has changed over a large period of time. My Nana thoroughly explained how the students had to undertake specific classes in regards to their gender. She explained to me how males were forced to learn the stereotypical boy stuff, such as repairing and maintenance, while the females attended classes that taught them knitting, sewing, and other such handwork that was designed to set them up for life. This, to me, was seen as a great example of discrimination and inequity. However, Nana describes her own feelings, stating, "I'm very grateful to have learnt what I did, as it helped me over the years and it still helps me now." She believes that it had a significant impact on who she is now as a person, which adequately identifies how much of a significance that schooling can have on your identity. In relation to my own schooling experience, I can note that children in primary school received that ability to learn the same stuff up until high school, where they were able to choose specific subjects that were of interest to them, and most probably helped in setting them up for their career of choice. That is what I can identify as an act of equity, and is perhaps the reason that I originally believed Nana would show regret or upset towards her schooling experience. Another reason that I had that opinion was because students in Holland only completed school up until year 11, which to me seems very young, however Nana seeing this as normal. I have also been able to gain an in-depth understanding of discrimination in the form of racism and othering, as identified by Bruce Burnett, who defines othering as the generation of social categories such as non-white and non-heterosexual, which are produced in a manner that emphasises a fundamental difference from what is considered ordinary. Being born in Australia with Australian parents and having what people would identify as an Australian lifestyle, I have had no experiences in regards to racism. I have an understanding of the term and what it means. However, I have no experiences to relate to and actually had very limited knowledge on the many ways that this can act in a form of discrimination. While I have of course experienced discrimination through other means, such as being bullied throughout schooling, or perhaps not being good enough, or even being denied a job due to age or ability, which again relates to the Equality Act 2010, I have not experienced it in the form of racism. Burnett thoroughly explores the importance of educators in their role of moving beyond multiculturalism. With just the reading, I can get a grasp on how this is the case. However, through my interview, I was able to look at this through a more realistic lens and significantly broaden my understanding. My Nana spoke really openly about her experience of migration to Australia from Europe with her husband and 3 children in 1956. Having 3 small children between the ages of 7 and 12, Nana was able to recognise the huge cultural difference in schooling. Not only that, just from Nana's stories I was able to piece together how much of a significant impact that teachers and schooling can have on an individual. To explain this further, I can use the experiences of Nana's children. Due to their previous schooling experiences, Nana's two sons had great skill in playing the drums. However, unfortunately, due to their cultural differences and the horrific down look on migrants throughout that time period, the two boys were treated very poorly in regards to this. They were refused participation in music classes due to their much higher skill levels in comparison to the other students. Nana claimed the teacher hated migrants. This is a sad but very accurate example of inequity. Potentially to create a more diverse and equitable environment, the school could have organised separate lessons or classes for those of different skill levels, as this would have efficiently been a perfect example of showing equity towards all students. It would identify equity as, although students are not participating in the same lessons, they would all be receiving lessons suitable to their own skill levels and ability. I was really able to grasp the ways in which the schooling environment can influence the act of racism. I quote Nana saying about her sons that it is unbelievable that the boys never went to the wrong side of the road because of what they went through and how they were treated when they came to Australia. Another thing that truly shapes an individual's identity is their personal life experiences. This I can relate to an individual's own cultural capital. Bordeaux's theory of cultural capital explains how one's accumulation of knowledge, behaviours and skills through experience can subsequently explain one's cultural competence and their standing in society. In relation to my interview, I can link this accurately with Nana's experiences. Nana lived in a war zone for a huge chunk of her life. She told me horrific stories about the things she experienced that I could never imagine going through. I quote Nana saying, "I have never thrown food, even old bread. My daughter throws it out, but I never will. You can crumble it up and make pancakes. I'll never waste any food." Due to her experiences of living in a war zone, she understands what it is like to have things taken away from her. From this discovery of mine, I was able to incorporate Nana's experiences with her sense of cultural capital. Before beginning my interview, I always perceived cultural capital as something we acquire just through our parents or our socioeconomic status. However, I have since learned that it works much more fluently with our life experiences and what they taught us. This links perfectly well with our identity and us as a person. For example, Nana has always been very careful with money and never has and claims that she never will put herself in debt. This is a trait that has been acquired through her experiences of having things taken from her and restricted money due to living in a war zone. Continuing on with personal experiences, it can be said that one's social interactions as a school student can have a great impact on their social skills and abilities that take part in forming their identity. Nana had very modern parents who restricted her from seeing her friends outside of school, which had a significant impact on Nana's social skills in the beginning of her life. It was when she reached an older age that her grandmother stepped in and helped her to sneak out to see her friends. The reason that I mention this is because it accurately identifies who had a great impact on her social skills and how today she can communicate with everyone fluently. When asked, Nana also admitted that her grandmother was one of her greatest influences in life and forming her identity. Overall, I was very intrigued to learn so much more about the ways in which one's identity is formed and how much of an impact schooling and life experiences can have on one's identity, cultural capital, and their overall mindset. I gained much more awareness on the topics relating to discrimination and social and cultural differences in people. As a future educator, I am now well aware of how I should react in regards to preventing or stopping the acts of discrimination. Having learnt where the majority of this stems from, I feel as though I can efficiently create an inclusive classroom environment to help minimise or stop discrimination altogether.